Hey everybody, it's Matt Pritchett with the Cowart team. I'm coming back at you with another neighborhood tour. We are in Northside's Bellevue neighborhood. My good friend and amazing realtor partner, Philip Skaggs, lives here and he's going to show us around. So let's go get him. Hey Phil.
Hello, hello. How
You
are
ready
you?
to go?
Doing great. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, let's go to
Let's
Bellevue.
go. All right, Phil, so why don't you tell us a little bit about Bellevue, why you love it, and kind of how you found out about this neighborhood?
Well, Bellevue is a very vibrant neighborhood in the north side. It's rich in architecture, history, and it just has so many things to love about it. The neighborhood vibe is really cool here. My wife and I fell in love with north side around 2002.
Okay.
And it's kind of a cool story because our realtor is actually the person who introduced us to the neighborhood. We'd seen a house in Laburnum that we really liked, and instead of driving us directly to Laburnum, he took us around, brought us through the Bellevue Arch, and had us coming through the neighborhood,
Oh, wow.
seeing all of the beauty, the architecture, and really getting to experience it, from the best advantage point. And at that moment, we fell in love with the neighborhood, and we didn't buy that house, but we knew at that moment that this is where we wanted to be.
Bellevue was the place for you. And
Yes.
I mean, what a beautiful neighborhood. We were driving through it a little bit earlier and just all the houses, the streets, just so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And that's the Bellevue Arch behind us, right?
Yep. This is the famous arch that we got to come through, which made us fall in love with this place.
Amazing. Well, let's go look at some other cool spots around the neighborhood. So Phil, I know you said earlier that you really loved all of the unique architecture in the neighborhood. What types of homes are in this neighborhood? Single family, multifamily, what kind of properties are here?
This neighborhood's mostly single family.
Okay.
There are a few duplexes in here, and on MacArthur they've added in some condos and some other, more modern houses. But for the most part, this is all single family. They range from your cute little bungalows, colonials. There's some really great Tudors in this neighborhood, and kind of the Foursquare in this neighborhood is probably like one of the most popular houses because it was that Sears catalog home that that everybody wanted back in the day. But so yeah, so there's lots of different architectural styles, but mostly it's the Tudors, bungalows, colonials, and Foursquares that you'll see in this neighborhood.
Now, you and Katie have lived in multiple homes in this neighborhood, right?
We have. Our first home that we bought was on Nottoway, which is a cute little bungalow, 1,500 square foot. And then eventually when we decided to have a family, we decided we wanted to stay in the neighborhood. So we searched for a little bigger home, and now we're on Westbrook Avenue.
That's awesome. So there's smaller homes, larger homes, different size homes for different people's needs. What are the price ranges in this neighborhood? If I wanted to get into Bellevue, what should I be setting my search at?
That's a great question. The Bellevue prices, because they range from the small bungalows to the bigger homes. A starting house here could run you about $400,000.
Okay.
Which is kind of crazy to think that's a starter home. But moving on up to, like, right now we're on Pope Avenue. Some of these houses are going to run you over $1 million, for this size house being on this street. Because even within Bellevue, which is a great location, there are better locations inside of this location, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I know sometimes in the city it can be, the street name you're on can add value to your home. What are like the super standout streets in Bellevue?
Well, Pope Avenue is the one we're on, which is actually named after the guy who developed the neighborhood.
Okay.
John Pope is who developed this neighborhood. So Pope Avenue is kind of one of the premier streets. You also have Princeton, which is one street over. Fauquier is a great street, has a median going through the middle of it with gardens, like kind of community gardens in the middle, so neighbors can all share, that area. And then Bellevue Avenue is also one of the premier streets because it's named after the neighborhood.
Heck yeah. Well, let's go check out some cool spots for people to shop and eat.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Awesome. So Phil, everyone's into what the vibe is now, right? So what is the vibe of Bellevue? What can people expect when they come to Bellevue?
What is the vibe of Bellevue? Well, the vibe of Bellevue really has to do with the walkability and the community in the neighborhood. When we decided to move here, it was kind of a little bit of a dark joke, but it was the newlyweds or the nearly deads.
Okay.
Because there was no real middle ground there. But what we loved about it is, there's people always going down the street, whether you had, baby carriages and dogs. And if you ever want to meet somebody and make a new friend, all you got to do is walk down the street. People are out on their front porches, people are walking their dogs, people are pushing their baby strollers, and it really just creates this almost like a Pleasantville vibe where you feel like you really get to know your neighbors, and your neighbors, help contribute to, your quality of life.
I love that. And there are a lot of cool events that take place in Bellevue. Like the marathon runs through here, right? And then there's also a really cool event called Porchella.
Yeah.
If you want to tell us about that.
Yes, I'm actually really glad you asked about Porchella. Okay. It is one of my favorite events that this neighborhood does. It was born out of COVID.
Okay.
When people were just bored out of their minds.
Yeah.
And this neighborhood has so many artists. I mean, you've got musicians, painters, dancers, and everybody just felt like they needed to do something to contribute to the mental health of the neighborhood. And one of the things that happened was someone said, well, why don't we get all these artists together and we'll just get on our front porches and play music. And it started off real simple, just exactly that. And people flooded into the neighborhood, and they ended up realizing that they didn't have much infrastructure. So they were like, they needed porta potties. People were knocking on people's doors saying, hey, can I use your bathroom? But it grew so fast that they ended up doing a second one like 6 months later.
Okay.
And then that grew. And then, then they had like golf carts driving people around the neighborhood. And finally it got so big that they just said, look, we're going to do it once a year. But it is the coolest thing to see your neighbors, kid bands, adult bands, orchestra bands, bluegrass, just so many different types of music. And it's just all out on people's front porches. You can stroll around on your bike, you can walk, you can bike. And it's just a whole day of having your own little music festival in your own neighborhood with your own friends.
I've never been. I definitely need to check it out next year. And if you guys haven't been, you should check it out too. And I think it really speaks to the vibe of Bellevue.
Yeah, it was something that was created out of necessity for, the love of the neighborhood.
Awesome. So right now we're on MacArthur, and there's kind of two streets, right, that have a bunch of the, commerce on it, MacArthur and Bellevue. What are some of your favorite spots to visit in the Bellevue neighborhood?
So one of my all-time favorite spots is Dot's Back Inn. As I mentioned, I've lived in this neighborhood for a while, so we've had a lot of really fun experiences there. We've celebrated, buying a new home. We celebrated, the birth of our child. We actually before that, we celebrated our engagement there, which was amazing because it's so local and family oriented that when we announced we were getting engaged, they actually brought out shot glasses with sparklers in it, and they played "Going to the Chapel" over the radio. And
oh my gosh, how cool.
So that was just such an amazing feeling to be celebrated, at your local restaurant.
Yeah.
But there's other great spots, like Demi's is a great Greek restaurant. You have Mia Lisco if you like Mexican food. Neighborhood Bar and Grill is awesome. for coffee, you've got Stir Crazy, pizza, you've got Zorba's. You really, I mean, if you want to buy jewelry, there's a Walker and Sons jewelry store down here. You can get pizza and a diamond at the same time.
So there's a little bit of everything, and there's even kind of like a little grocery store, right?
Yep, Nuttall's grocery store is on this corner.
Okay.
And then we have, it's funny, as a neighborhood term, everybody calls it the Little Green Grocer, although it has a much longer name than that. But that's kind of the name that everybody's adopted for it. So yeah, we got 2 grocery stores, one kind of for little specialty stuff, and one if you just need to grab a gallon of milk and a bag of peas, you can hit, one or the other. So it's nice to have that, in your neighborhood.
So regardless of what you need, there's something here for everybody.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So Phil, we're coming up on your first house you were telling us about, and you were sharing a really cool story with me about kind of the value of the house and how this illustrates the prices in the neighborhood and kind of how things have changed over the years. Do you want to share that with everybody?
Yeah, so I'm excited to show you my first home, because as you mentioned, it really illustrates a first-time home buyer, what you're capable of, and also the great investments that you can make in real estate. So my first house, we bought this in 2002 for $165,000, and that just seems insane at this time, and at this time in the market. We invested a lot of time and energy into the home. We did some mini renovations in there, miniature renovations, but we ended up selling it 8 years later for $245,000, I think.
Wow.
And we were very excited, because that equity that we made off of that home in that short amount of time, that was big money. So we ended up investing that into another house. But years later, probably about 6 months ago, our starter home sold for $650,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So what a dramatic change from 165 to 650. But I think that is a great example of how this neighborhood has flourished and continues to grow in value, even as the market changes.
And I think it really demonstrates the power of home ownership and how getting in a house, starting to pay yourself, and like you said, build that equity, can really change your life and your lifestyle.
Yeah, the best time to buy a house is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But the second best time to buy a house is today.
Absolutely. So Phil, you were telling me a really cool story kind of about the origin of Bellevue and these shops and MacArthur Avenue. You want to share that too?
Yeah, so one fun fact about this neighborhood is that it was actually designed or developed because of the trolley system. Richmond had one of the first modern trolley systems in this country, and it was set up so that it actually ran right down MacArthur off of Laburnum. And after that trolley line went in, all this development started to, build up around that system. So this neighborhood is actually a direct result of that trolley line being put in, and people in the inner city having access to come out to farmland.
Yeah. Oh wow. How crazy to think about that.
This all used to be farmland that just over time developed because of that trolley system.
And then I guess as people lived here and the city grew, the area just kind of grew with it, and that's why it has this true neighborhood feel.
Yeah, and this neighborhood actually was kind of where the original kind of workman people, blue collar, came to live. So these houses around here where people lived that did the masonry work, the construction, and so that's why these homes in this particular area are a little bit more modest, because they were more of the blue collar worker, and then the bigger houses developed later.
How cool. What a cool piece of Richmond history. All right, Phil, I love to ask this question. What is something about this neighborhood that people might not expect or might not know about Bellevue?
What is something people might not expect? I think the best answer to that is I don't think people would expect to find how close this is to everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the city. You're in a suburb neighborhood with yards and fences and dogs and trees, and you feel like you're kind of in this secluded area. But then you hop in your car and you're 2 minutes to the highway to go south, 2 minutes to the highway to go north. You really just have such accessibility to the entire Richmond area, but yet you can kind of come home to this little bubble.
That's really cool. So kind of like a little suburb in the city.
Yeah,
I love it. All right, Phil. So people have watched our video. You've convinced them that Bellevue is the best place in the city. They're ready to buy a house here. What should they do next?
The number one thing you should do when you decide you want to purchase a home is to call an amazing lender.
Hi. Absolutely. It's important for people to get their numbers together, know what they can buy, but I also think it's important people work with a local expert that knows the area and is respected in the area, much like yourself.
Thank you.
So if people are looking for a great realtor, how do they get in contact with you? How can people reach out?
The best way to reach out to me is on my phone. I always have my phone with me.
Okay.
Always ready to take a call, text. Yeah, those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
You want to give the people your number?
Sure. It's 804-304-1395.
Awesome. We hope to see you guys in Bellevue.